Getting even. First, everyone, thank you for coming. Real people, Zoom people. Okay. Getting even. Finding justice in revenge. And I have to say, very exciting. This is the last, like, thing of Hilchot Al. Like, I skipped around a little bit, but, like, it happened to be perfect. Like, this was the last paragraph that I chose, what we were up to. So, it's very exciting. Okay. So, I'm going to start off reading. I had a best friend who could never let anyone off the hook. Anita says, if you said or did something that upset her, she just stopped talking to you, and she never spoke to you again. Okay, that's rough. I'm glad I don't have a best friend like that. My mother-in-law got mad at me about something, James said, but she wouldn't tell me what she was mad about. In fact, I didn't even know she was mad until Christmas, or Purim, or Hanukkah, when I didn't get a gift from her. I was sort of embarrassed, but my husband and all of his siblings started giggling and whispering, and finally, one of them said, "Oh, James, welcome to the family. Mom is mad at you about something, and good luck ever finding out what." Okay, so I brought these two things just to show you, like, the extreme cases of, like, taking revenge, holding grudges. Like, I don't think we do this. We talk to our friends, thank God. I mean, some people don't talk to people, like forever.
Say you can't talk to someone. You don't actually not talk to someone.
Right. Yeah? Raquel?
Oh, sorry, that's a mistake.
That's okay.
But I do unfortunately know people like this.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. So now we're going to learn more about it. So I definitely want this class, we're going to see more, like, psychologically, why do people take revenge? And what's the alternative? Is there ever a time for revenge? How does this work? Okay. So, Mishneh Torah 7:7. הנוקם מחברו עובד בלא תעשה, שנאמר לא תיקום, אלא ראוי לו לאדם להיות מעביר על מידותיו, על כל דברי העולם, שהכל אצל המבינים דברי הבל והווי ואינן כדאי לנקום עליהן. So Rambam is saying someone who takes revenge on someone is violating the commandment of lotikam. And then what should you do instead? I think he's saying you shouldn't care about all the worldly matters that you could be want to take revenge on him. And then, okay, this is the important part. Ketzad hin hanekima. What is vengeance? How is it established? Said his friend to him, "Lend me your axe," answered he. "No, I will not lend it to you." On the morrow, which means tomorrow, he needs to borrow an axe himself. Says he to his friend, "Lend me your axe," answered his friend. "No, I will not lend it to you, even as you refused to lend it to me when I asked for it. You refused, I'm not giving it to you. Why should I give it to you? Okay. Behold, this one takes vengeance." So that is revenge. Anyone have any comments on this? No, you don't have to yet. Okay, we're going to continue reading. Ela kshiavo lo lish'ol yiten belev shalem lo yigmol lo kasher gemalo. Rather, what should we do? You should give it to him wholeheartedly. Oh, like, I don't care that you didn't lend me your axe. Who cares? I'm still, new opportunity. Here's my axe with pleasure. Yes, Emma.
Oh, so I was learning this actually this year in school in Kigon. It's like and another example that my teacher also brought. I don't know if this was for Lo. It was that you can't, like, let's say someone asks you to borrow your pencil, and then you say, stop, you're fighting. Someone asks to borrow a pencil from you, and you say no. And the next day you need a pencil, and then they say, "Yeah, and I'm gonna give you a pencil, even though you didn't give me one yesterday. Like, they're so much better than you. You can't do that either."
Yeah, so that's Loti Todd. We're getting to that. Good, very nice. Okay. So now, I want to ask you, can you give me a more practical example that doesn't include borrowing axes of a time when you, or like, would want to take revenge or be in this scenario? Like,
I have such a practical one.
What?
Wait, you have to borrow something?
It could be anything. When you, like, sort of said, like, I want to get back at my friend because they didn't do this for me, I'm not going to do it for them. Or they did this, I'm going to do this.
Maybe like if you pay for ice cream and your friend like won't Venmo you, so you're like, okay, now I'm not gonna Venmo her. I feel like that's very in the times.
Nice. I like it. Thanks, Raquel. Okay, so I'll tell you what I thought of. And also, guys, feel free to use the chat. That's my love. I just always go to the chat. But anyway, okay. One, she didn't invite me. I'm not going to invite her. That's, I feel like, a key one. Yes, Raquel, thank you for the applause. And not because I don't have space, but because you want to get back at her. Next, let's say my sister didn't wash my dish for me, and I'm not going to wash her dish for her. She didn't answer my call. I'm not going to answer her call. So those were just practical examples.
What if she just wasn't at the phone?
I know, the last one's a little pathetic, but it's what I came up with. No, because maybe, like, it's, like, in a mean way. But, like, yeah, exactly. Why is the last one pathetic?
Because you don't really know what's going on. She just wasn't there. Like, whatever.
Okay, but what about the other examples? What if she didn't invite you because of this?
Well, I think all that we shouldn't. I understand the inviting one a little bit more. Because if someone's actually hurt by that, then they might do that. I don't think it's right, but I understand it a little more than the calling thing.
Right, so what lesson are you learning from the calling example that you could apply to any of them?
That whole thing's just ridiculous.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Right, so Jen's saying you can't judge someone. Definitely.
You can't judge someone, or also you can't take things to heart so much. Because if you're gonna get bothered by every little thing that much and like want to take revenge at every small thing, you're not gonna be able to live life. You can't live life like that.
Agreed. Okay, now we're going to continue to the next piece that, Emma, you were saying before. Okay, Loti kom, Loti toret b'nei amecha v'ahavta l'recha kamoch ani Adonai. So this is where it comes from, the Loti kom commandment in the Torah. Cool thing, everyone loves Parashat Kedoshim because it's about interpersonal relationships, and it happens to be in Vayikra, which is the middle book of the Torah, and the 19th chapter is the middle book of that. So we're just like saying how central it is. Anyway, so I wonder if this is the middle pasuk. Okay, so now we just spoke about Loti Kom. Now we're going to see what Loti Tot is. So we're going to go back to the Mishneh. What?
It actually might be. Wait, I'm like trying to think back.
We're going to go back to the Mishneh Torah. Let's see. Should I just read? I think I'm just going to read. Okay. Like what? V'ken, kol hanoted le'echad mi'Yisrael oved v'lo ta'aseh, shene'emad v'lo titoret b'nei amecha. Ketzad hi hanetira. So give me an example now of bearing a grudge. So said Reuven to Shimon, lease me this house or lend me this ox. Why he uses a different example is interesting to me, but different discussion for a different time. So Reuven said to Shimon, lease me this house or lend me this ox. Shimon said no. And then after some time, Shimon goes to Reuven to lease or lend from him. And then Reuven says, here you may have it. Behold, I am lending it to you. For I am not as you are. I will not pay you as you deserve. So basically saying, you didn't do this for me, but I'm gonna do it for you because I'm better. Yeah. And then again, this is Loti Todd. And now, what should we do? Ella yimche hadavar melibo, elo yitrenu, shekol zman shehu noter et hadavar v'zochro, shema yavo limkom. So for he should blot the thing out of his heart completely. So he's sort of saying, like, forget that he did something wrong to you and not lodge it therein. Forsooth, weird words. Yeah. As long as he bears the matter and remembers it, he might be tempted to take vengeance. Because if you remember this thing, then maybe it's going to lead you to nekama, to revenge. Okay, but I have a lot of questions on this, but let's see what else he says to do. It is on account of this that the Torah is particular concerning the bearing of a grudge to blot such sin. Okay. This is the proper ethical idea, which makes possible the stability of organized society and the busyness relationship between man and man upon earth. Okay, interesting. So someone want to now give me a more practical example that doesn't include borrowing land or oxes, but with Loti Todd. You could use the same examples even, just I want you to make sure you understand the concept. So like you give me the inviting example. Let's say she said she didn't invite me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to invite her and I'm going to tell her, oh, I invited you even though you didn't invite me. I'm such a good person. You're not so much. Or, oh, you didn't wash my dish. Vic, I'm washing your dish. But, like, no, I'm better. Like,
Oh gosh.
yes.
Let's say it's like someone didn't invite you and like maybe they didn't even realize that like you were upset about it, and then you're inviting and you want to say like I was a little offended when you didn't invite me.
That's a different story.
We're getting to this exact thing, Jen. So get ready. So we'll get there. This is, like, it's very exciting stuff. Okay. Let me think if I have any other one. Okay, yeah, she didn't answer my call. I'm going to answer hers and say, oh yeah, remember when you missed my call? I just got yours. I'm
But
like,
there's also the concept of like kill it with kindness. Like she didn't invite you to the party, but you're gonna invite her anyways.
right, so what's the difference between killing it with kindness and what I'm saying?
So you have to like not go and rub it in their face.
Right. The rubbing in their face. That's definitely the problem. Okay, so now, I want you to think if you have any questions on these two things that we just spoke about. Maybe, like, what's the difference between the first and the second? Ooh, exciting. Okay. What's the difference between the first and the second? Oh, that's okay. It's okay. It's Alexandra's friends. Okay. Any idea what's the difference between the first one where, like, I'm just not gonna do the negative thing? I mean, I'm not gonna do what you didn't do for me, versus the second one, which is bearing a grudge and saying, oh, like, I'm better than you and I'm gonna do it. It's good you don't have an answer because we're gonna go to Dashi and the Fifth Kuni.
I don't know what you're asking.
I'm asking you what's the difference between Lottie Com and Lottie Todd?
Well, one of them you're refusing, one of them you're doing anyways.
Okay.
Like.
Right,
I don't
you're
know
explaining me.
That you're like.
Okay, that's okay. So Yola wrote the difference is taking action, actually carrying through the grudge. Okay, nice. Action. That's gonna be a
But
keyword.
both ways you're carrying through by physically not giving him the thing that he asked you for, and you're still like.
Right, but one's more action oriented, I would say. Like the other one's just sort of. I see what you're saying. Okay, but let's read further. We're going to the Dashi. Okay, Lottie Com. Let's see what he says. So he says, lend me your sickle, and he replies, no, and the next day, okay, we know this already. Okay. This is called, sorry. Okay, so now he basically says the same scenarios that we were saying before with Lottie Com and Lottie Todd, and then he says this for Lottie Todd. This is called bearing a grudge, netira, because he retains, noted, enmity in his heart, although he does not actually avenge himself. So what's the difference here? What's the second one? The second one, when you like hold a grudge, it's in your heart, versus the first one, you're actually doing an action and you're saying, okay, I'm not doing what you did, whatever, you did something to me, I'm gonna do the same thing to you. That's more of an action, and I'm not saying this well, 1 second. Okay, bearing a grudge is holding it in your heart. Taking revenge is acting on it with action and trying to get him back with that. So the second guy, the second is making him feel bad with words or feelings. The first guy, he's doing something already that's for the fault of the guy gosh. Okay, we're gonna start over. The first guy, I'm doing revenge. I am not washing your dish. The person on the other side is already losing out because he's not getting my dish. But the second scenario, he's getting I'm washing his dish for him. So that's not what he's losing out on. What he's losing out on is the feelings. Are we getting this? Okay. Okay.
No, what feelings? Clarify.
Like, I feel bad now that I didn't answer your call when you oh gosh.
I know what you're saying.
Okay, I'm gonna try again. Keep on trying. Okay. Let me pick one example. Okay, the axe that we're borrowing. I gave you the axe to use now. So that wasn't your punishment because you just got an axe to use. The punishment is that I feel guilty and bad now that I didn't lend it to you in the first place. Is that more clear?
Also, I think one of them you come out.
Yeah, better, Sam.
Thank you, Victoria. What?
One of them you come out feeling angry, and one of them you come out feeling bad. Like, if they're not letting you the eggs, you're like, oh, they're so annoying. But if they're like, say, I'm giving you the eggs anyways, but you're like, I'm better than you, or whatever, then you like actually feel bad.
Interesting. Okay, let's go further because I'm not making sense with my words today. Okay. Now first question. You can write it in the chat. Which one is worse? Nekema, no, nakama. Nekima or netira? Put it in the chat. First or second? Revenge or holding a grudge? Which one's worse? I didn't even want to ask this question, but I think it's interesting to think about. Grudge. Ruthie said 1. Okay. What do you guys think? Okay, Jen said grudge.
I feel like grudge is also more in like your thought process. Revenge is just an action, so you feel like it's easier to correct an action than like a mindset.
Right. Sarah said a beautiful thing is what I was trying to say. That the first one is like an action, but the second one is your thought process, and you could always correct an action, but like the mindset is not so good for the second one. Okay, so now I'll tell you my thoughts. So I think the second one is worse. I mean, I'm not the Lord and I don't know anything, but like the second one is worse because I feel like you come out with a gut-wrenching feeling, and you like, and he's not clear of the fire. Like maybe he would be in the first because he got him back. Like I didn't get it. No one got me back. So now I'm still like at fault. Versus the other one when like, okay, now I'm clear because he got me back. And this makes me think about even if there's a place for the first revenge as a sort of punishment, because doesn't the person who didn't lend the axe, shouldn't he get a punishment? Like, wasn't that not nice? And then here's the next question. Why?
Wait. I don't understand what you just said.
Okay. The first person is sort of a little bit off the hook because he already got him back.
What's first person?
Okay, we're gonna make a scenario. That will be better.
Use names.
Okay, Jen and Sarah are fighting. God forbid. Sarah needed a volleyball, and Jen had one. So Jen didn't give Sarah the volleyball. Like, I don't know why. Woo. Jen didn't give Sarah the volleyball. The next day, Jen needs the volleyball, and Sarah has it. So she goes to Sarah, and she says, can I have the volleyball? And Sarah says no. So right now, they both lost out.
Like an eye for an eye.
An eye for an eye, yes. They both lost out. So, like, I feel like Sarah is less inclined to be mad at Jen, or Jen is less inclined to be, like, feel bad because she already lost something. Is that more clear?
Now you're even.
Like, you're even. But with the other one, Sarah lent Jen the volleyball. So now Jen feels bad, and Sarah could feel good about herself, and Jen could feel bad because it's not like, oh, I made up for it because I didn't get mine either.
Right.
Do we get that? Or no?
Right.
Yeah.
I got it. But it could be a good kind of bad feeling because she could feel bad and then say, yeah, but now I'm going to lend to the next person.
I don't get it.
Like Jen could say, oh, well, I might feel bad now because I didn't lend mine to Sarah, but then that's kind of like a tikkun. Like it could lead to that her then lending something the next time.
Right. I see
feel
that.
like for the grudge holder, the grudge is worse. But in comparing the two situations, like the victim, so to say, like the person who's gonna feel bad is gonna, like, it's good for them because then they'll feel bad and correct themselves. Whereas, like, if she didn't give me the ball the next day, I'd just be like, all right, like, it is what it is. I didn't do something nice. She didn't do something nice. It's over. But then in that case, I'm like, oh, next time I really should. That wasn't nice. But,
Wow. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So they're saying that the victim of the holding grudge is gonna feel bad and then do something about it, so that could be better. Ruthie says it's easier to do more harm with revenge versus holding a grudge, which is sort of a thought. Okay, interesting. Jacqueline says restate the cases. I think through an invite example would make it more understandable. Okay. Should we do this, or should we just continue?
It might have been from before. Was that from just now? Or you just did it in Molly?
You can skip. Okay, give me a second. No, we're gonna come back to it. We're gonna go on. Okay, next question. Sorry for my lack of confusion. I don't know what's with me, but that's okay. We're perfect. We're not perfect. So my next question is, why is the second person admonished and not the first for not lending his friend something? So like when the person didn't lend the axe, only the second guy who said, no, I'm not lending it to you either, was punished. What about the first guy? So the Chizkuni is going to answer this.
The second guy's taking revenge. First guy's not.
But the first guy still didn't do a nice thing.
But he's doing a double bad thing. As opposed to a nice thing. I think
Blah,
the
blah,
second guy's at fault twice. Because number one, he took revenge by like holding the grudge, and number two, he didn't lend the guy a thing. I don't know if that actually makes sense. So that makes sense.
But he did on the other thing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
In the grudge situation,
No, the guy that did it. The guy that did it.
Ah.
Sorry, say that again quickly. Like, if
Like,
possible.
whatever, never mind.
Okay.
It's fine.
Sarah, what were you saying? Can you hear them? Okay, whatever. I don't know. This is too hard. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Victoria. Okay, let's go to the Chizkuni. Wow, what a roller coaster tonight. Okay, great. Lotikom. What then is the meaning of Lotitoa? Do not bear a grudge. Answer. If the second person does not lend his spade to this one, who had refused him this scythe, but he added when giving him his spade, okay, I'm not like you who refused me this sword just yesterday. The second person still feels vengeful, even though he did not act vengefully. So what the Chizkuni is saying, this is regard to the other thing, that the second person is still gonna feel like he needs to get the other guy back because he did something nice, which is just interesting. Whatever.
Wow. Why not? I feel like it's like even though he did something nice, he's still holding the grudge.
Right. It's still hurting him.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah. But now let's go to this question. If you were to ask why it is that the Torah did not specifically forbid the first person to refuse to lend the second person his scythe, but referred with obvious displeasure to the second person who did lend his tool as having committed a violation of a commandment. So basically the question we asked. Then let's see the answer. We must give the first person the benefit of the doubt. So this is what I was pulling on before with the phone call. For refusing to lend his tool, because he may have been afraid that his neighbor would treat his scythe, which he treasured greatly, carelessly. And that would explain his refusal. So they're saying, the first guy, you need to give him benefit of the doubt. You don't have to lend your tools. The Torah does not command us to lend our tools against our better judgment as to whom we entrust in it. If this person's going to destroy my book, you do not have to lend it to them. On the other hand, the second person made it clear that he bore the first person ill will for his refusal, and he wanted to impress him as being a better person than his neighbor. So the first guy, benefit of the doubt. We don't know why he was not giving it, why he was not inviting, or why he was not answering the phone call. Okay. Therefore, the Torah commanded us to allow our goodwill toward our neighbor to outweigh our disappointment over his having refused us without giving an adequate explanation, which would have been acceptable and which would have avoided any ill feeling. So the first guy, what's the best thing that he could have done? Like, let's say I didn't answer your phone call. This is a, menial example, but, or let's say I didn't invite you. What could have that guy done, the first guy?
You could explain.
Right, so Sarah's saying you could explain.
Or even if you did do it intentionally, just call up and say, I'm sorry, and never mind, I realized.
Right, Emma's saying you call up, say, I'm sorry, definitely. And I think that's what it's saying in the end here. That, even though the first guy didn't technically do so much wrong, he could have explained and prevented this hatred by just saying, I'm sorry if you did something wrong, or being open and, recognizing that something negative could have came out of this. You know what I mean? Okay. And by practicing this good kind of goodwill, we would have contributed to making this a more peaceful world. Okay, interesting. So a few things that we learned, which we just said, but let me just recap for everyone. One is that there's a difference between the first and the second. Sometimes the first and the second guy. Sometimes you can't lend something or invite this person, which is okay, but having negative feelings towards another or not telling them that something is bothering you, that's not good. And so before you even get there, one way to prevent fighting is having open communication. That's the key. In a few ways. One, when something could be perceived in a negative way, you have to think and explain why you can't lend this thing or invite them. Next, sometimes it is hard to anticipate what could cause harm to another. So be open to telling someone what's bothering you. Like, I can't know that Jen hates the color red, and so I shouldn't wear the color red. But if Jen really hates this color and I always wear it to every class, tell me. We talked about this like a few weeks ago, but like, just open communication. And finally, lastly, if you did something wrong, get off your high horse and admit it. It's honorable to say sorry and get ready. Oh, it's honorable to say sorry and get ready for the clincher, even if you're right. I think you should say sorry. Like, so many times we don't want to say sorry because, oh, I'm right or I know best. But like, even the fact, but we're going to discuss this in a second, even the fact that they got angry from something I did, even if I did the right thing, that's something to apologize for. I'm sorry that you got angry from whatever I did.
That's the hardest one, I think.
That is very hard, yes.
Although sometimes you might think you're right, but you're really not right.
Right. Yeah. I hope you guys heard that. I think you did. Definitely. And I think it's hard because you're only seeing from your eyes. That's why you really got to have, like, a partner that you could talk to and just, they'll be your, like, outside of your box head. Yes, we did. Okay. Anyway, now I want to ask you, though. This bothers me a little bit. Because is there ever time for a revenge? Like, what if I just always apologized? I feel like the other person's never going to learn. Like, don't they need a punishment? So,
There are times in the Torah where we're told to take revenge. Are you about to share that?
yeah, tell me. Go, Vic.
Sorry. So it talks about this with Midian, and God says to take revenge on Midian. I wonder if you want to discuss Amalek as revenge. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the next source.
I think yeah.
Yeah, continue.
No, you talk.
Okay. Yeah, so let's see if there's ever a time that revenge is warranted. So then what Victoria said, it's in Esther. Like, we're not even gonna read it. But when they went and killed the people of Shushan after, and also with Midian and like many examples. But now I want to ask you a question, Emma. I feel like you're gonna get this. When else does acts, mishaps come up in the Torah? Good, but something, this like a mishap, like a mistake. This is very hard.
Mistake with an axe.
Yes. Ian Mikla! You got it, Jacqueline. It's with Ian Mikla. Okay, so anyone want to explain about Ian Mikla? Like what it's about?
6 cities for the Levine. Kill someone by accident. You go there, run away there so you don't get killed.
Amazing. Okay, so.
And then when the Kohen Gadol dies, then you're free.
Excellent. And what happened? And why do you need to run away to the city?
Because let's say you killed some guy's brother, you don't want the brother to come running.
Right. What's that brother called again? Goel.
Yeah.
Goel Hadam.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's see, and you're gonna see how this ties in. It's gonna be very cool. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Cities of refuge. You killed a person unintentionally, like Emma said. The city shall serve you as a refuge from the avenger, so that the manslayer may not die unless he has stood trial before the assembly. I wrote, it's important to note that we are talking about an accident, because if it was on purpose, he gets killed. And so that's why you go under trial, and he can't be killed before he gets, told that it was an accident. Okay, then, but if the manslayer ever goes outside the limits of the city of refuge, if he ever leaves the Id Miklat, like Emma said, he could be killed. And the blood avenger comes upon him outside the limits of the city of refuge, and the blood avenger kills the manslayer, there is no blood guilt on his account. He could 100% kill him. And then finally, important thing, it says at the end, you shall not pollute the land in which you live, for blood pollutes the land, and the land can have no expiation for blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. Okay, you shall not defile the land in which you live, in which I myself abide, for I, the Lord, abide among the Israelite people. Okay, so a few things that Rabbi Sachs points out with this. But first, that there's a major difference between someone who does it intentionally and by mistake. And even though the same action occurs, Hazi, this guy's brother, just died, even if it was by mistake or on purpose. But in both cases, it depends, because it doesn't mean that you could just kill him, even though it's the same action. The intention matters. Okay, if he killed on purpose, you must put him to death. But if not, it's more complicated. So what's the more complicated part when it was an accident? Is that the guy who did it by mistake is not just scot-free. Hazi, it really just slipped. And but I guess the other guy died. But there are consequences and some sort of revenge that he gets. But let's see what Rabbi Sachs says. Okay. Any questions or want to stop me or clarification before we continue? No. Okay. The prevention of unjust violence is fundamental to the Torah. Rabbi Sachs is saying when there's something wrong, you gotta stand up. You don't just let things happen. That's not how it works. Homicide is never less than serious in Jewish law. But there is a fundamental difference between murder, deliberate killing, and manslaughter, accidental death. To kill someone not guilty of murder as an act of revenge, so if you're killing the person who did it by mistake, is not justice. That's not justice, but further bloodshed and must be prevented. So on one hand, you could say this person needs to be punished. He just killed my brother. But on the other hand, doesn't mean you could just go do whatever you want. That's not how it works. Therefore, there are miklots, so that he could be protected. Okay. Right, and taking revenge just creates more chaos and more killing and more horrible things. Not inviting them to that party. It just never ends when you do that. Okay. But let's see what does happen to the person that was wronged. Or who needs to get even, so to speak. Okay, so let's see what happens, though. I imagine your brother was just killed by accident. I want to kill this guy. So let's see what happens. And though the Torah rejects revenge, except when commanded by God, something of the idea survives in the concept of Goel Hadam, wrongly translated as blood avenger. It means, in fact, blood redeemer. A redeemer is someone who rights an imbalance in the world, who rescues something or something, rescues someone or something, and restores it to its rightful place. So this is sort of saying, let's say my brother did something wrong to me. No, I shouldn't go do something wrong to him, but what happens? He did something wrong. I should just say sorry and let him walk all over me? No. We have to right the imbalances in the world. So thus, let's see, a blood redeemer is one who ensures that murder or something bad does not go unpunished. But now the question is, was exile to the cities of a refuge considered as a way of protecting the accidental killer, or was itself a form of punishment? Both. That's always the answer. So recall that exile is a biblical form of punishment. Adam and Chava, after their sin, Cain, Miriam, and we say in our prayers, because of our sins, we were exiled from our land. Okay, in truth, both elements are present, as always. On the one hand, the Torah says, the assembly must protect the one accused of murder from the redeemer of blood. You gotta protect this guy who did it by accident. You can't let this guy just revenge like crazy and send the accused back to the city, okay? Here the emphasis, though, is on protection. But on the other pasuk, we read that if the exiled person ever goes outside the limits of the city to which they fled, and the Redeemer of Blood finds them, they could kill them scot-free. They could kill them. Like, they could take that revenge. So what's the key? Okay, it's coming together. It's almost done. The Torah, understanding that the desire for revenge as natural, tames it by translating it into something else altogether. It recognizes the pain, the loss, and moral indignation of the family of the victim. That is the meaning of the phrase Go'el Hadam, the blood redeemer, the figure who represents that instinct for revenge. So the Torah recognizes we're human. We need to take revenge sometimes. A wrong needs to be corrected. But you can't just go kill him and be crazy. The Torah legislates for people with all their passions, not for angels. Right, the Torah is not written for robots. It's written for us. It is a realistic code, not a utopian one. Yet, the Torah inserts one vital element between the killer and the victim's family, the principle of justice. There must be no direct act of revenge. The killer must be protected until his case has been heard in a court of law. If found guilty, he must pay the price. If found innocent, he must be given refuge. The single act turns revenge into retribution. This makes all the difference. Okay. This is amazing. I'm trying to think if I should just continue. Am I talking too much? Like, are you listening, or is it, like, hard to concentrate? Okay. Well, I needed to bring all of Rabbi Sachs' words because it was just so good. People often find it difficult to distinguish retribution and revenge. Yet, they are completely different concepts. Revenge is an I-thou relationship. You killed a member of my family, so I will kill you. It is intrinsically personal, me against you. Retribution, by contrast, is impersonal. It is no longer the Montagues against the Capulets, but both under the impartial rule of law. So indeed, the best definition of the society the Torah seeks to create is democracy, the rule of laws, not men. Retribution is the principled rejection of revenge. It says that we are not free to take the law into our own hands. Passion may not override the due process of the law, for that is the sure route to anarchy and bloodshed. If I take it into my own hands and say, I could do whatever I want, he did bad to me, I could do bad to him, that's not how it works. That's not good. That's chaos, revenge. But wrong must be punished. But my brother can't get away with always being mean to me. But only after it has been established by a fair trial. We need impartial people, and only on behalf not just of the victim, but of society as a whole. It was this principle that drove the work of the late Simon Wiesenthal in bringing Nazi war criminals to trial. He called his biography Justice, not Vengeance. Powerful. Okay. Now, time to bring it back to us. Practicality. It is very frustrating when we are wronged. Yes. It is natural to want to take revenge. Yes. But should we? No. How? By trusting in the system. The system that God will get even. You don't have to. You don't know the ultimate plan. You just see one scene in the movie. And by humbling ourselves in this way, and first let's see this pasuk that says that. It's beautiful. Ki yadin Adonai amo ve'al avadav yitnachem ki yir'eh ki azlat yad ve'efes atzur ve'azur. For the Lord will vindicate his people and take revenge for his servants, when he sees that their might is gone, and neither bond nor free is left. So God got us. We gotta trust the system and trust him. And by humbling ourselves in that way and recognizing that we are human and that we make mistakes, not lingering on the past, but bringing ourselves to a brighter future by seeing every moment as a new opportunity. Like, this person just wronged me, but I don't care. I'm letting it go, and I'm being nice. Like, I'm not getting even. It's not my job. My job is to just look at every moment and live it to the best of my ability. Like, I don't care if my brother was just disgusting to me. Okay, but we're going to discuss this. But, like, I still shouldn't be mean. I should be nice, but he needs to learn his place, and there needs to be justice. So we should help another bring people closer to one another, not further apart, and create peace. And that's the goal. And, okay. And that is really...
Samantha.
Yes.
And I would also add in, like you said, God's running the show, it won't work out. But I also think, like, naturally there are consequences. And when people are mean to other people aren't going to want to be nice, like, aren't going to want to interact with them. And, like, there are just natural consequences that will follow.
Right.
You
No,
know?
because sometimes you don't see those consequences. And you don't realize. Like, I want to not kill this person, but, like, this person did very annoying things to me. So I want him to get justice, but you don't always see. Like, it's like Sadiq with Allah. But, like, it is true that I always tell people, being nice in the end always wins you out. Like, even if you don't see it. Like, even not cheating, I think also ties into that.
It's very hard on the spot, when you're really being hurt, to be nice. To just let it roll. That's a real test. I really do think so. Like, someone is screaming at you or but I also think you shouldn't be a doormat. So, like, it's a balance that you have to figure out.
Right. No, that's definitely. But I think that's why I was thinking this whole time, like, how does revenge work? Because no, you shouldn't take revenge, but you also want justice. You shouldn't just let them, you shouldn't just let them be unpunished. But on one hand, you need to find justice through an impartial person. And on the other hand, you gotta trust that God will take care of it.
It's interesting because I also think about this sometimes, how you have to be a role model with the way you behave. So even if you're upset, if you show them that you're, like, acting positively, they'll learn from that. And maybe they'll be, maybe their parents will punish them, or knowing, like, I guess that's part of the picture too.
Right. No, I think we're definitely not saying that we should be doormats. It's just very hard to realize that. But I think adding more fire to the flame is what we shouldn't do. Like, getting angry and then just projecting that on other people is not the way. Even when you're facing this difficult person, you should do it, like, in a calm voice. That's always the key, I'm telling you. Never raise your voice. Okay, so let's just see quickly what we did. So we talked about these little stories of the people that always held grudges and bad. And, like, unfortunately, we know people to that extreme that they never talk to the person again. But most people, like us, we just sort of, like, a little bit take revenge. Like, oh, you didn't wash my dish, I'm not going to wash your dish. Or you didn't invite me, oh, yeah, you're off the list. And that is nekama. What should we do instead? Give to him wholeheartedly. Be nice, even though you want to be mean. Don't be mean, be honest. I think that's the answer. Then we saw Latitod is the other one, where it's saying, oh, I'm much better than you because I'm giving in to you. And then the whole discussion of which one's better, which one's worse. And we'll keep that for another time. And more clarity on that coming soon. But then we talked about why, because he keeps it in his heart when you bear a grudge. The second person still feels vengeful, even though he did not act vengefully. Then we asked, why is the first person not faulted for not lending in the first place? And we said benefit of the doubt. He's not holding a grudge. He's just, maybe he didn't want to lend something because the other guy would ruin it. But what we should do is always try to anticipate someone else's pain and what could be wrong, and be honest and open. Benefit of the doubt, and just saying when something's bothering you. And then we talked about Id Mikla and revenge in the Torah, and how there's times for revenge. But then Id Mikla and Rabbi Sachs, where he was talking about how you need to stand up for injustice and cancel out the imbalance in the world, but it's through laws, and it's not just you could do whatever you want. It's the system of God and trusting in God, but also standing up and not adding fire, but creating peace. That's the answer. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks, Samantha, for the whole summer.
Thank you so much. Such a good class.
Thanks, Raquel. Sorry, everyone, for my lack of, I don't know what, English.
Thank you, Sam. Love you.
Jacqueline!
Love you, Jen.
Love you. Well, am I seeing you tomorrow?
I wish. I'll text you, Jen.
What do you mean?
I'm texting.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Lack of nothing. Oh. Okay, cool. Thanks.